Let's take a look at your intake and exhaust options for your M5X Swap. Welcome to episode 5 of our 6-part E30 M5X Swap guide. If you haven't seen the first video, click the link right here. So in this video, we will be covering your air filter options, intake manifold options, the throttle cable you'll need for the swap, as well as your exhaust manifold and exhaust header option. If you swapped in an M52, a really good option to make some more power is to swap in a M50 Intake manifold. People have reported gaining 20 horsepower from it with a slight loss of torque under 4,000 RPM. Depending on your build, this might be a good option for you to make some easy power. Moving down the intake system, you can use the stock intake boot and the factory mass airflow sensor. On the M52s, it's worth looking at the ASC delete boot. You won't be able to use the traction control in this car anyways, so it's just an unnecessary air restriction. Now, you either have the option of slapping a cone filter on the MAF or figuring out some sort of custom cold air or ram air intake. The difficulty with this is the ABS module on the E30s is right in the way of where it would make sense to put an air intake system. For my swap, I decided just to put the cone filter on the end of the MAF. I figured the extra work to try to figure out some sort of intricate intake system would not make that much more power. The only spot that made sense to maybe route the intake was underneath the pan where the ABS module was, but that's also right next to the ground, so it might just pick up a bunch of water, dirt, debris, and just cause more bad than good. Here's the part number for the K&N filter that I used. It'll also be in the description. I found that it was the best size for the engine bay. It wasn't too big, too small, and it definitely wouldn't restrict the airflow of the engine at all. Now, to keep it from dangling around, I built a small bracket, and on one end it mounts to the bottom of the intake manifold, and on the other end it has a hose clamp that just grabs around the MAF and it keeps it all steady. For your throttle cable, you need this part number right here. It's also in the description, and it comes in 2 different lengths. You need this length right here, and it'll bolt into your E30 just like your stock throttle cable. Now for exhaust, you have a few different options. You have M50 manifolds, M52 manifolds, and aftermarket exhaust headers. Exhaust headers will definitely be the most expensive, but also the most efficient exhaust system you could find. There's lots of different options online that are made specifically for this swap. M52 manifolds are a lot more efficient than the M50 manifolds, so if you can get a set of those, I would definitely recommend that. Worst case scenario, you can always just use the M50 manifolds. For either of these stock manifold setups, they will not directly bolt to your E30 exhaust system, so they're going to need some sort of modification. On my swap, I decided to use the M50 manifolds because they already came with the engine and it was simple. And I just brought my car to an exhaust shop and they were able to connect my E30 exhaust to the M50 manifolds, no problem. And that's it for intake and exhaust. Make sure to check out our next video where we cover ECU and wiring for your M5X swap. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment below or just message us directly on social media.